The Seahawks had their chances in this game. There's no other way to say it. I mean, they only lost by 5 points. They were definitely competitive, but man, I look back to that first half, and you could even say a decent part of the third quarter. They just weren't consistent, not in the offensive side and the defensive side. So it was really a well-rounded failure in that regard. And I've said it time and time again. The Seahawks have been one of the biggest, and I'd say one of the best surprises that we've seen in the NFL this year, with Geno Smith probably being one of the comeback player of the year nominees. Pete Carroll definitely being a coach of the year nominee as far as I see it. But, this was definitely a test for them. And I thought that they looked like they were being outcompeted head and shoulders compared to the Bucs early in that game. But I got to give the Seahawks credit. They were able to bounce back in that second half and at least give themselves a chance to win that game. So when it came to the fourth quarter specifically, I really thought that Geno Smith and that offense, they finally got their act together. And maybe it was just because the Bucs were up 21-3. They felt like they had a comfortable lead, and maybe they took their foot off the pedal defensively. But the Seahawks took advantage of what the Bucs were giving them defensively, and they were able to lead some drives. And they put themselves in a position to get it to a one-possession game, and all they needed was a defensive stop to get themselves a chance to be able to lead a game-winning drive for Geno Smith and that offense. And they just fell short in that regard. The defense was not able to slow down the Bucs rushing attack, which that's really kind of one of the main takeaways from this defensive performance from the Seahawks. They just could not stop the run. And the fact that they weren't able to stop the run against one of the worst teams in running the ball with the Buccaneers are not a viable team when it comes to running the ball this year. Their stats speak for themselves. They can only rush the ball for 60 to 65 yards a game, and they've largely relied on Brady to be able to lead the offense here. And the fact that the Seahawks gave up as many rushing yards as they did yesterday, that was a major disappointment if you're looking at it from a Seahawks perspective. But, it comes with the territory. I think they were probably banking on trying to slow down the game or slow down the run game and then maybe have Tom try to beat you. But, the Bucs were able to get a balanced offensive attack, which is something that I don't think the Seahawks planned for. I think they were trying to focus on slow the run game down and then let Brady throw the ball 50 times. But, when you give up the amount of rushing yards that you did to Leonard Fournette and White out of the backfield with the Bucs, the Seahawks weren't able to stop drives for the Bucs, and the Bucs were able to chew up some clock throughout the game and then end up getting some points on top of that. It's just, when it comes to Seattle here, I really thought that their defense kind of let them down. They only gave up 21 points though. So it's not as if that, they put themselves in a position where they were just completely out of it. They were definitely in the game. It's just, I look back to the offense and not being able to step up in moments where they needed to execute. And to me, when it came to the Seattle Seahawks, there was a drive in the second half where they were in the red zone and Geno Smith is trying to pass the ball. He tries to escape out of the pocket and he ends up getting stripped and the Bucs recover it. I thought that was a blow to the Seahawks because at least Seattle would have gotten 3 points minimum out of that. But the worst case scenario happened and they ended up giving the ball back to the Bucs without any points on the board in their favor. And it just seemed as if they were playing catch up the entire day. Being down 18 points, it's a 3-possession game, and you're trying to make that up in the fourth quarter, essentially. Just not going to work out in your favor. So they fall a little bit short. But look, when it comes to the Seahawks this year, they're a team that we still need to take seriously here as far as I see it. They got to be careful, though, because, if you look at the 49ers are the one team that they're going to have to contend with down the stretch here. Because, when it comes to the Rams, they're not a team to worry about. The Rams are just too inconsistent this year. The same goes with the Cardinals. I just haven't seen a lot of consistency from them this year. But if Seattle is careful, they got to play up to snuff against the 49ers because the 49ers I really think they're the only team that are going to be able to catch up to Seattle in the NFC West this year. But, when it comes to Seattle, we just got to see how they play down the stretch. And if they could be able to win some of these competitive matches that they have on their slate for the next 2 months, I think they'll at least put themselves in a position to be able to win the NFC West. And then we'll see what happens if they get to the playoffs. Anything can happen, and they can definitely play spoiler against any team that they go up against. So Tough loss against the Bucs. Probably a game that they could have won. There were definitely some plays that they left out on the field, but all in all, I wouldn't say it's all doom and gloom in Seattle. They're definitely a team to contend with down the stretch. Just a couple plays here and there. If they were able to execute, it could have dictated the outcome of the game. But unfortunately for Seattle, they fall back in this one, and we'll see whether or not that they can bounce back going into next week.